Hello, Meg Smith, the hypnotic dietitian. Thanks for joining. Happy Friday. We finally got sun. How exciting. I've just spent the morning filling my cup at a women's networking and women in business networking event. And came away feeling really nice and refreshed and ready for a beautiful weekend. A couple of questions today, one around pre and probiotics and another around something more practical, what sorts of foods to have with tuna for lunches. What's a good option for tuna and lunches? So I'll start with that one because that's a pretty easy way. Hello. Hi Manal. Hi Brenda. That one's a pretty easy one to give you a quick answer on. So question was from Sarah around what are some ideas to have tuna with at lunchtime. Generally, we've got to look at what are we trying to achieve from that. So when we're looking at our nutrition as a whole across a day, have you already had your serves of grains for the day? And if you have, then I would say make sure you're having it with some sort of veg. If you haven't had your grains for the day, then we'd be looking at something that's high fiber and full of whole grains. So that would be something like Ryvitas or Vita wheat biscuits. I can hear a little person. Can anyone else hear a little person? Come in, Carter.
Mommy, what's
Two. Sorry, everyone. And if you haven't had your serves of grains for the day, and if you're not sure what a serve is, contact me and I can actually go through that on one of these posts. That would be quite good and easy to do. So there's things like Vita wheats, Ryvitas, anything that's a whole grain and on the lower end of salt. So if you're comparing a couple of different whole grain products, you would be looking at the one with the lowest salt and the highest amount of fiber. Another really good one is the Baker's Delight Cape Seed Loaf that has the added barley max. And if you get that sliced for sandwiches, that's quite thin. And then when you toast it, it goes more like a biscuit. And that's got heaps of really good fiber in there from the barley max and also all the grains and seeds as well. If you look, there's a bit of a, I am all about looking for what's going to nourish you more, not how can I eat less calories. So I guess things like Cruskets where they're really light and people say, oh, they've only got this many calories, that's fine. But when I eat, I want to make sure that it's giving me something. I'm not just eating to help keep my calories low. So from that perspective, if things like Cruskets, yes, they are light, but look at the carbohydrates that are in there. So they're usually really highly refined. So they're going to be broken down really quickly. And then potentially you get a quick insulin spike as a result. And even though there's only a small amount of that carbohydrate, I would rather you be able to nourish yourself more and give yourself some good some good fiber, and also help you fill you up because, you know, when you're eating good food, you feel fuller and you feel nourished and you feel good. All right, so I hope, Sarah, that helps to answer your question. The other thing you could do is some of those really good whole grain wraps as well. You can also like chop them up and toast them, and then they become like a corn chip. So you could make it like a little dip. Mix some chopped tomatoes, the celery leaves go really well with that. So celery leaves, chopped tomatoes, some chives or spring onions, the green part. If you've got a FODMAPs issue, mix all that together and use that as like a kind of like a tuna salsa with some of those some bickies like that you've made from whole grain wraps and things. Now the other question was from Anita around how I think it was around pre and probiotics. So what are they and how do you know which is the best one to have? Straight off the bat, I would not recommend probiotics as a blanket rule for everyone. I don't think everyone needs to be on a probiotic. There are literally hundreds out there at the moment, and we haven't even discovered a tiny bit of them. There is a really good podcast from the Huberman Lab that I think I might have shared before, but I'm happy to share it again, that talks about prebiotic foods. And I think it also goes a bit into probiotics as well. Basically, those probiotics are like the good bugs that live in our gut. So it's estimated that by the age of, I think, 2 or 3, our probiotic back gut flora has already been determined. So you cannot change it after that age. Well, not for the long term anyway, at this point. I'm sure they'll come up with ways to do it as we continue on with biomedicine and things. So everybody has a completely different strain. It's like your fingerprint. Everyone has a different fingerprint. Everyone has a different balance of good and bad bacteria and the different types of bacteria that live in your gut. So all those, I don't know if you remember the InHealth Plus ads, Lactobacillus GG and those sorts of things, you might have 10 million of those in your gut, somebody else might only have 1 million. And therefore, supplementing with that particular strain might be helpful for you, but it might not be helpful for the person who only has 1 million, because that doesn't actually balance their flora that much. They need to, unless that particular strain has been wiped out with a bug recently or something. But we also don't really know how to work that out. There's no real quick, mainstream, systematic way to be able to work that out just yet. So if you think about it as probiotics are the good little bugs that live in our gut, and prebiotics are the things that feed those good little bugs. So they are things like all the FODMAPs. So that's why you should never be on a low FODMAP diet for a long time, because you basically end up starving your good bacteria. Things like onion and garlic and watermelon and anything really high in fibre is generally going to help with that, help feed the good bacteria in your gut. Then we've got other types of prebiotics like fermented foods. So things like sauerkraut, and now I've said it, I've gone completely blank and can't think of anything. Tempeh, and I can't say this one, tempeh. This fermented soy products and those sorts of things. I will find a list and I will get it to you. And I'll make it a post in the group as well, maybe for top tips next Tuesday. Jean, if you're watching, we need to get all over that. Jean is a person who is is a virtual assistant who helps me with all the posts and things. So if I say that I'm looking for something, she'll generally go out and have a look for it for me, bring it to me, and then I'll say yes, 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 or no, no. And that's how we are able to keep up with getting all that content to you guys. So fermented food, kombucha is another one, a type of fermented food. These, and the Huberman Lab podcast goes into this in a lot more detail, but it was actually found that the fermented prebiotic foods were able to help boost the gut microflora really, really well. For that reason, I would generally always try and recommend you to improve your diet and your mental health before you look at medicating anything. Unless you've had, like if you're otherwise healthy, then look at your diet. If you've had gastro or you've got really chronic bowel symptoms and things like that, number one, you should be speaking to your doctor. But number two, that's where some strains of probiotics can be really helpful. So, for example, when people come to see me and they've got a form of IBS that causes constipation, there is one type of probiotic, it's a pre and probiotic together, that I generally recommend to get things moving and get them healthy, get their gut nourished again. I have had a pretty bad bout of a type of eczema on my hands recently, and it scared me so much that I needed to do something about it. So I take a specific probiotic that is for skin, and I can see the Skin Fixer has just joined us. Hello, so I'm sure you've heard some stories about that too. So there's another probiotic that people who are trying to lose weight, there's evidence that it can help people who are trying to lose weight, and that's another one that I would recommend but it's under very specific circumstances, and it's never for the just long term. Excuse me. There is, I think, sometimes that can be, if we just go, oh yeah, I'm going to take the broad spectrum probiotic from the chemist because I've heard that it's good for my gut. Sometimes that can actually be not good for your gut. So again, that podcast talks about how there is links between brain fog and long-term self-medication with probiotics when you don't need them. There's a link between that and giving you brain fog. So and that's a bit of a, like, yes, it's a tangible thing, but it can be a little bit hard to notice if it's just crept in gradually and you haven't realized that you have it. If there's people who have diarrhea or have had IBS for a really long time and their nutrients is just literally running out of them, that is also another time where I might recommend a different strain, again, of probiotic. And again, it is a very specific protocol. So if somebody comes to see me for a gut-related issue, I have a protocol where we start with this one. We do, I think I put a post up about this a little while ago. So we start with a certain probiotic or prebiotic. We remove some foods. We then bring back some other nourishing foods, and then we end with a different pre or probiotic to help keep things going. And then that ideally helps to rebuild the gut flora. If you have any questions about specifically for you, because again, I would never recommend a probiotic as a general thing for people to take, just for good health. So if you have a specific health or gut related problem that you would like to get some more information on, please contact me and we can organise a one-off session to see if we can pinpoint where the problem's coming from and then work out whether you might need a probiotic to help you or not. Mainly the probiotics I tend to recommend are the Metagenics brand, or there's some from Bioceuticals as well. And they're Australian-based companies who have very high, stringent protocols and quality assurance markers within their company. So yeah, general answer, Anita, is you would know which probiotics to pick based on what you're trying to achieve and any symptoms that you might have, and then you would speak to a health professional about it. Look, and this is a really new area of research, so there isn't like a MIMS, a drug reference guide for this. It's more it's more speaking with your health professionals that are looking after your health, whatever that health might be, and then getting the best information from them. The good thing I like about using the Metagenics ones too is I can call them if there's two that I'm not sure about, I think this one might be good, but what do you think? They've got naturopaths that are on board that as health professionals can call to just double check what we were thinking. So yeah, if you've got any questions on that, please let me know. Thanks for everyone for joining in. Hope you have a great Friday, and if you are in Melbourne, go and stand out in the sun. I just went out and did this with my son and let it warm down on my face, and it felt amazing. So good for vitamin D. We've missed it. All right, happy Friday, everyone. Bye.